yellow gold throw. So it is quite big. It came out to be about 45 by 65 inches, so it's a very substantial throw. It feels great. I've talked about this in the past. This was holding 10 strands together in a 1x1 rib pattern. It's not a pattern, it's just sort of a free wheeling, freelance type thing that I just kind of made up. I use size 17 needles. Oh, it's so funny. The color just shifted and now it's there. That's accurate. Yeah, well, size 17, 12 millimeter needles, and I just knit for about 70 inches. And then when you block it, you pull apart the rib a bit to get some better width, but you lose length when you do that. So I found that an extra 2 inches per 12 inches gives me what I need. I did run out of the bright yellow in the last like 8 inches or so. So like from here to here. So you can see it's kind of interesting. I kind of like it though. It's like a little bit duller gold than on one end than it is throughout the rest of the blanket, or the throw rather. But yeah, it was definitely, this is a stash buster. This is probably the equivalent of 15 or 16 full fingering weight skeins. I used fingering weight. You could use DK or worsted and just count those as 2 strands of fingering weight and still get the same effect. But yeah, overall, I really love the way the fabric came out. I mean, it gives this effect of yellow, but it's definitely a yellow marl. And when you get close, it's a bit of a rainbow. What's not to love? Hey there, how are you? My name is Shannon and welcome to my channel. This is Whiskey and Wool, part of my Knitter's Life series. And this episode will not be the typical format if you're a returning viewer that you're used to, because I am in the middle of moving house. It's a very long middle. Yeah, so this episode may be slightly heavier on life and less so on knitting, though I do have some things to show you. It's all going to be using my cell phone, which is in my other hand, because I've packed my usual recording equipment, and including the tripod that would hold my phone. So I'm going to be one-handed for this. And a lot of what you'll see in this episode, especially about the knitting and stuff, will all be using the forward-facing camera and one hand. So this won't be long. I just thought I was getting to the point where I was, I'm about to do the move. I'm probably about 3 weeks away. Maybe doesn't seem like 3 weeks is about to move, but I should be closing on the new place within a week. And then once the closure happens, some work will be done on the apartment, and then I'll move. So once we close, I'm probably going to be pretty scattered in terms of my energy, just trying to get the new place situated. I do have some workers who will be coming in and doing, the heavy, more professional style work. But of course, there's lots of cleaning to do always when you're about to move into a new place. And yeah, so I thought I would spend this episode talking to you a little bit about what's been happening in my life with the move, and then also give you a little update on my knitting projects. Yeah, I thought you might find that part interesting. So there won't be any whiskey chat. I've actually got almost all the alcohol packed. I think I kept out some gin just in case I felt like I wanted a glass between now and the move. But yeah, I'm going to show you actually. So let me do that. So I do want to let you know that it's a very gloomy day here in northern New Jersey, where I work and live and craft. we've had a couple days of like just solid rain. I don't even know if the camera will focus on the outside there and let you see that it's raining, but it's raining, so it's a little dark in here. But this is my usual, this was where all my crafting supplies were before. And now it is all the supplies all boxed up, a lot of them boxed up. My spinning stuff here in the tower suitcase there, my spinning wheel case, which my spinning wheel is still out because I probably will do some spinning in the next couple weeks while I'm still here. Some sewing supplies and stuff like that. And yeah, just I'm getting to the point where it's a little bit of a hodgepodge going on in the boxes. Like this one is some yarn and a game system, a couple other things. And then there's more yarn over here. When I originally, in books, these are all books in these smaller boxes. Originally when I was planning the move, what I did was I kept out this basket for yarn for projects that I was either working on or wanted to cast on. And I just sorted through it. I kept a couple of the boxes you can see still open with yarn that I thought, okay, if I work through all these things, let me also let me have some spares. So I just resorted a little bit, put extra, leftover yarn that was in here. I put in that box and pulled out some yarn to cast on some new projects in the coming couple weeks. I have two or three, actually two in particular, unfinished whips from last year somewhere, and I really wish I had them out. I had left them out because they're in one of these sets of boxes, and I don't feel like digging through them all. So yeah, they're just gonna have to wait until post move. Meanwhile, like in terms of my knitting projects, I feel like I'm just putting one foot in front of the other. Here's some news. I frogged my self-striping Bearpaw socks because I didn't like how loose the knit was. It was on a 4, US size 4, which is a 3.25 millimeter. So I frogged those socks before I packed them, and I will be re-knitting those. So I'll show you my current whips right now. Hi there. I am almost done with the academic vest by Ellie of Skeindeer Knits. And here it is. I thought I would just show it to you before I steek it, since there's a lot of curiosity about steeking. So this is the front V right here, where the V-neck will be cut. So you can see how the knitting is going at an angle, and that is because of the steek. And I've already did crochet reinforcements using the main color, and the actual cutting will be right through there. So you just pull apart those crochet reinforcements. On the arm, I haven't crocheted yet. Sorry, I hope I'm not making you dizzy. I'm using my phone. So yeah, I haven't crocheted along here yet. Ellie had us do something that I've never done with a steek, and that is you do 5 stitches, which is not uncommon, but the first and 5th stitch are purled. So this is a purl column here and here, and I'm guessing that's going to make it fold over really cleanly. Once it folds over, both along the neck and on the armhole, there will be 1x1 rib trim. I have done a 3 needle bind off for the shoulder, which is why you're getting this weird shape here. So, but once the steek is cut right here, this will open up and it'll lay nicely. So I might show you the post cutting. I'm not going to show you the cutting because I packed my my tripod and everything, so all I have is my phone right now. But yeah, I'm excited to get this done and maybe wear it in this lovely spring weather. It'll be nice over a t-shirt or maybe a button down or a, you know, a blouse of some sort, or even alone later when it gets even warmer. I did use, about the colors, I did use 5 colors instead of 4 as the pattern called for. I popped in this orange color right here. Most of the yarns that I used were hand spun. So the gold, the orange, and this peach color were all hand spun. The yellow, this bright yellow, and pink, pale pink, are from the Gray Sheep Company in the UK. I bought a mini skein set many years ago and ended up using some of it, but I had some left. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing. The peach that I have, this coral color that was a hand spun, had some color variation. So you can see, like here it's reading very coral, but then over here it's reading a little more like a golden orange colored. But I like it. I like it. It's dark there, so it had a little bit of color changing stuff happening. It was funny, when I was knitting it, I popped in this orange because this was supposed to be the pale pink, and I worried that the pale pink wouldn't contrast enough with the coral color that I was using in the background. And I intended to bring that orange back again, you know, further along in the pattern. The repeat is from that coral cross to this one. That it's a very big repeat. You don't do it, you know, you just do it a little over 1 1/4 times to get the full length. But I ended up not using the orange. I think I was all the way up here and I was like, oh crap, I didn't use the orange again yet. So I popped it back in when I did the same repeat again, the same motif rather, a second time. But I like it. I think it works. So I ended up with like this, when you look at it from afar, this like orange band, a yellow band, and a pink band, and then yellow band, and then an orange band again, and then a yellow band. So you sort of have that narrow yellow band repeating. Oh, also, I used a 6 color here. This pink is not the pale pink. I had a little dab, just a few yards, of a darker pink. So I figured, let me just use that, pop it in, get a little more punchy with the color. And I literally had like that much, like 8 or 9 inches left by the time I was done with these 5 rows. But I think it's fine. I like it. I like the way it's looking, but I will show you more as I progress on this. Okay, so I cut open the steek. That's how the V looks. I'm gonna do the armholes next and get those steeked, and then I'll start working on the trim. I think it came out pretty well. There were a couple things I just want to point out too I forgot to mention, and I probably will forget by the time I actually show you my finished object video. Ellie didn't, in the pattern, take into account the stitches on the back neck, and she didn't say to bind them off or anything, so I didn't know what to do, so I ended up just putting them on waste yarn. I just grabbed some yellow just because it was bright and nearby and easy to see, and I just slipped all of those back neck stitches on that. You probably could either do this, or you could bind them off. She has you bind off the neck stitches and the armhole stitches as you do the last round, but she doesn't say anything about the back neck stitches, so I guess it was just an oversight. I'm not really sure. But yeah, so that crochet edge will tuck under, and then I'll be picking up the neckband stitches right along that edge there. Pretty cool, huh? But yeah, this is finished object. I finished this up pretty quickly. It didn't take me, I think it took me all of maybe 2.5 weeks to knit. It was highly addictive. It is a bottom-up vest. You do this huge 4-inch 1x1 rib, and then you get right into color work. I make mine a little bit longer than the pattern suggested. And yeah, I also steeped it, which I think I've already shown you. I would make one modification to this pattern, and that is that when you do this neck, I've learned this from doing the daily pullover. She doesn't have you cast on a center stitch right here, but I think you definitely should, because you see how it kind of bends around. You wouldn't get that if you cast on a center stitch. It would work out just fine, like it basically taking the way that Paula does her V-neck would work out, I think, a little bit better for this pattern. So I do have another one that I am planning to cast on, but the yarn is buried somewhere in those boxes, so it'll be something that I'll work on later. But I've been like sort of looking at my stash in Ravelry and thinking a lot about how you know, what color combos might work really well. In this one, I pretty much did the typical contrast with blue, are usually gold warm tones. When you use blue as a main, you just use warm tones like in that red, orange, yellow, gold scenario. But yeah, really fun, addictive knit, and it's lovely that there are no sleeves, so you're able to, you know, feel like you finished it quickly. Most of the colors that I used in there were either ends of handspun that I did, or a few of them are from a mini skein pack that I bought from the Gray Sheep Yarn Company when I was in Scotland for Edinburgh, the last Edinburgh Yarn Festival in 2019. The main color is I got it at Rhinebeck in 2021. And it's by Boondoggle Farm, and it's called Somebunny. And it's 97% Fin, 3% Angora. It's really nice. It has a beautiful hand, and I have a little bit of extra. I have about another 250 yards, so it could end up being a contrast yarn and something else, a contrast color and something else, or I don't know, a hat maybe. We'll see. But yeah, I love it. I've already worn it so many times, and I intend to continue to wear it. But it's a really great pattern, fun to knit and fun to plan. So sticking with the socks for a moment, this is one of my current whips. This is the Bearpaw sock, but knit on 2.5 US 2.5 or 3mm needles. And I like the fabric so much better. It's so much more comfy. This is also Mustache Yarns. This is in the colorway Over the Garden Wall, which was a Halloween colorway that I just cast on in April. And you can see that I'm almost done with them. I'm highly motivated to get these done because I have the other stripe that I want to work on. And I'm actually going to be pulling out that bind off and knitting a few more rounds, like a couple more repeats of the stripe, because I bound off too tight for one thing. I was socializing when I did it, and I ended up just not paying attention. And then when I put it on, after I eventually got it around my heel and on my foot, I realized it was a little bit shorter, and I just have a dab of yarn left anyway. This is what's left. So I think I'm gonna knit up to the blue yarn in there. So it'll be, where are we on the repeat? Just after the green. Yeah, so I'm gonna knit like this much more. Another inch or so, I'd say. It'll pretty much use up the entire split skein. Mustache will, I think that's her norm, she sends you 2 matching 50-gram skeins that then you can wind off into 2 individual balls, and they should pretty much match. And that has been the case as far as I have found. Yeah, so those are my Bearpaw socks by Andrea Mowry, modified for a smaller needle size for some tighter fabric. And it's pretty easy to do. All of my project pages for these socks will have the shoe size that I'm knitting for. I wear a US women's size 8 shoe, so yeah, these are for that size. And yeah, and you can just, following her pattern, use the cast on that I've used, or your own cast on, to figure out how to do the same, like have a little bit snugger knit, which just feels more comfortable. Another whip that you saw in my last episode was this daily pullover by Paula Pereira for Pearl Soho. That's where you can buy the pattern. This is probably, I think this is my fourth daily pullover that I've made. And this time around, I'm using La Bien Aimée yarn in a helix, which is a lace weight, combined with Kumo, which is a Surrey alpaca lace. So this is a Falkland Merino. I really cannot read that. Maybe you can. Falkland Merino and Gotland blend. So it's a gray base. And it's really substantial yardage, almost 800 yards. Hopefully that is focusing. Yeah, so this is her helix, which is pretty cool. And then the Kumo Baby Siri and silk. It's really soft. You know what? This sweater would be perfect to wear on a day like today because it's so dreary and cold out there. I am not alternating skeins, and I think it looks pretty good. I don't think I got a little bit of pooling there, but generally I think the colors are blending pretty nicely, aside from, you know, what generally happens when you do a sleeve, and that is that the color gradation changes because you're knitting on a smaller circumference. And I can see a little bit of a color change there, but it's not enough for me to pull it out and redo. Yeah, and I'm nearly done with the second sleeve, and then this will go on the blocking mat and be ready for wearing. Hopefully there will still be a little bit of cool morning or evening weather that I can wear this. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's very mindless once you get past the shoulder shaping and stuff. Just a regular raglan. You can see the raglan seams there, sleeves, and yeah, really easy. I love it. I hope I made this one long enough. I popped it over and it wasn't as long as I would like it. I would have liked another maybe ½ inch or inch, but maybe I will get that in blocking at least. I think I probably will, so I'm not that concerned about it. But, and then the neck too will get straightened out because right now it's trying to curl back on itself, which is a little weird. But yeah, this is my daily pullover by Paula Pereira, and I have a couple other whips to show you. This is actually a nice way to show this project. This is Saml by Hohi Locatelli. It's not a new pattern. It's been around for a while. And when I showed this on my last episode, it was very small. It's a top-down cardigan, which I'll get closer in a minute, in a second. When I showed it before using my usual video equipment, it really did not show the knit very well, but you're going to get a nice view of it now. This is a textured body of the sweater, and then it has this really cute like braid, cable braid down either side of the front placket. So there's the placket. You make the placket as you go. It is a garter, it's garter stitch, which looks really great. And you also do the buttonholes as you go. So there's a few buttonholes. This is obviously like a little bit slower of a knit than the daily pullover because there are, well, two things. One, it's black yarn, so it's hard to work on in the evenings when I'm watching a show because it's a little hard to see. When you're doing this textured stitch, it's a four row repeat, four stitch. I think it's a 4 stitch and 4 row repeat. And when you're doing this shaping on the armhole, it's so easy to keep track because you're always increasing, you know, in a really symmetrical way. And, you know, you just, every row you do the same thing and you still end up with this textured pattern. I can't remember what it's called. I'll put the name on screen if I see it then. It's not mistake rib, broken rib? I don't remember. Anyway, sand stitch, that's what it is, sand stitch. There we go. Yeah, so now that I'm on the body, the stitches don't change, and like I'm on this part, the stitches don't change, and I do have to keep track of which row I do what to. So that's a little tedious. Like there's been a few times where I've knit, you know, several stitches only to realize that I'm doing the wrong knit purl series and I need to back up, and that sucks. Because as soon as you do a wrong row, you end up with a 1x1 rib situation. Because you alternate the knits and purls, it's not giving anything away, even though it's paid for pattern. That sand stitch, you could look it up and see exactly what I'm talking about. But you knit one, purl one row, and then the next row is just a knit row, and then the row after that you're purling where you knit and knitting where you purled on 2 rows down. So that's a little tricky to sometimes see. But I really love the fabric that is happening here. It's really, really nice, and I think I'm gonna love this sweater once it's done. And I think I'm a glutton for punishment when you see this next one, because it is also black. Hang on, forgot to tell you about the yarn. It is by Woolly Mammoth Fiber Co. Limited edition that I bought, I wanna say in the fall of 21 or winter of 22, I'm not sure which. But yeah, it's this, I'm gonna just read it because I can't tell with my old eyes if it's focusing. It looks like it's focused. Is it? It's Hebridean Black Welsh Mountain, 4-ply fingering weight, 50% Hebridean, 50% Black Welsh Mountain. Really, really sturdy, beautiful, beautiful yarn. I really love it. Okay, one more whip. This is Sheep Camp Mountain by Jennifer Berg. It is a new cast on. What made me cast it on? I don't remember. I think I finished the yokes on the other 2 sweaters, and I was like, you know, I'm about to finish the daily pullover, and I'm gonna need something mindless, stockinette stitch to knit. So I figured once I get past the yoke, the colorwork yoke of this sweater, I would then have a mindless knit, which will be really nice which is nice to have on stressful days. But yeah, this is a colorwork yoke, I believe raglan, no, round yoke. I haven't been doing raglan increases at all. So just a round yoke that I am knitting out of yarn I've had on hand. It's black Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, American Targhee Columbia wool. It's a worsted yarn, which it's working fine. I pretty much got gauge, and it's the colorway cast iron. Oh yeah, and it's all American made. It has all of the where the wool was sourced, spun, and dyed, and it's all here in the US. My contrast yarn, I'm just gonna sit up because I'm kind of leaning over. My contrast yarn is some hand spun that I spun about, maybe it was last summer or the summer before. No, I think it was the year of the pandemic, so 2020 was when I purchased the wool. This is this is like a blend of my own. And what it is, I call it Bunny Rainbow because I had some merino that was dyed in very bright, like jelly bean colors, but I just had a little bit of it, like 3 ounces. So it wasn't enough to do anything other than just a single skein. And I also had purchased some 100% Angora Rologs for hand spinning that I then combined them. And I think, if memory serves, I held them, I did a combo spin. What would be like a combo spin where I think that's what it's called, when you hold the fiber, like I held both fibers in one hand and drafted them together. So I had the wool and the 100% Angora. So it's really hairy It's got such a nice halo, but super, super soft. And I really am loving the way it's knitting up in this beautiful geometric pattern that is the sheep camp sweater, pullover sweater. I'm not sure. It'll be correct on screen. So yeah, I've really been enjoying this, and I've actually had to make myself work on the other two sweaters just because I want to, I'm always trying to get one thing off the needles. But I've made pretty good progress. Before I go, in case you're wondering why I have packed so early, it's because there was a lot to get through. I've lived in my current place for 10 years, and I needed to do a lot of clean out. In that time, my children were here living full time and have left home, have since left home. They've grown up and moved. So I had a lot to sort through. And I just, as I found things that I knew I was keeping and wanted to bring to the next place, I packed them. And I was also a little bit anxious about my packing materials. Like, I wanted to make sure I had enough boxes. The moving company I chose will pack things for me, but they charge per box. So I'm working really hard to get everything in boxes before they get here and have it all ready, so they just have to carry it out. And that'll make moving day faster and a lot less stressful. I'm also planning to, because I'll have the place for about 10 days to 14 days before I move in, I am planning to take a lot of the more fragile items over, such as my houseplants and some artwork that I have that I think is a little delicate, and some glass pieces and stuff like, glasses and vintage pieces that I feel strongly about. So there's a lot to do on the horizon, and I just felt like I needed to get packed as much as possible ahead of, actually moving, instead of doing like a intense 5 or 6 day packing session. I have been doing it gradually. It's worked really well. Really happy with how it's all turned out. I have a little bit more I could still do. Like, there's some art on the wall behind me, and in other places that, things that I could easily just pack up and I'm not using on a daily basis. I'm pretty close though to having everything that I use, everything packed except stuff that I use on a daily basis. So getting there. But I'll have more updates when I see you next time. This is the shortest episode ever. All right, I'm going to show you, I have a little bit of spinning. I did finish Beach Rainbow. I'm just going to talk to you about it right here. I did show you the process of making Beach Rainbow in my last video, which I think I posted a month ago at the end of March, around there. But I did finish it a couple days ago, the third skein. So I'll show you that on screen, what it looks like, and just as a reminder, the fiber and the title page from when I posted it. So I really love it. I ended up with a little short of 1,200 yards, so it's a perfect sweater quantity for me. I would say it's probably sport weight, maybe heavy fingering. Yeah, it's heavy fingering, maybe more heavy fingering than sport weight. And no idea what I'm going to make. I was thinking I would make a weekender out of it for the spin and make along that Andrea Mowry is doing, but I just don't think I want to knit that yarn in reverse stockinette. So not the process, but I don't really want the reverse side showing on that. So I'm gonna save it for something else. And I already figured out what yarn I'm going to use for that knit along, if I can even make it, because the yarn that I want to use is packed. So it might be a make along that I just don't participate in, and that's okay. I have a little other spinning clip that I filmed probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, just in my process of let me film as I go. I try to film my process as I go. So I'll show you that. And that is what's lying ahead of me in terms of spinning. I saw Amy of the Fat Squirrel Fiber YouTube channel, plied together some wool with mohair. And I thought that was interesting. She did it with a bunch of mini skeins she'd gotten, or a bunch of mini little fiber bumps that she'd gotten over the holiday season. And I got these fiber bumps in a 12-day countdown from Akari Yarns in Canada. She's Canadian. So I thought it would be fun to do that. So I went through my mohair and paired mohair up with their matching fiber bumps. And I tried one out. So I made this one here, this purple one. It is, yeah, it was interesting. I don't know if I want to do this 12 more times or 11 more times. I mean, it made a pretty interesting yarn. The fiber, in case you're wondering, is Pullworth, 100% Pullworth, so it spins really nicely. It has really beautiful hand, and it's nice and soft. So, yeah, this is it. I ended up using, I think the fiber is around 35 grams a bump. I haven't weighed them, but I got about 150 yards. I used 15 grams of mohair. And I was thinking like, oh, it'd be really fun to use up mohair dribs and drabs like this one that I had knit into a lace and fade boxy last year, and I still have about 20 grams left. So that'll be fun to do. I think that'll make a nice pairing. I put actually white, I thought white with ones that I didn't have a matching mohair, and that should be fine. But yeah, it was interesting. Again, I don't know if I want to do this another 11 times, but maybe, I don't know. I'll see. Anyway, just thought I'd share this while my thoughts on it are fresh and not muddled, and by the move that is coming soon. Yeah, and I think it came out to be about a DK weight, I would say. And the fiber was tonal, so I ended up with some interesting tones. And of course, the mohair silk was quite dark, much darker than the fiber itself, but I kind of like the marl effect. I think it could be a fun accent piece, or maybe it might be enough for a hat, at least a hat maybe for Julie, my granddaughter, who is 2.5. But yeah, that is a little update on one of my spinning projects. And I don't think I'll need any other spinning projects, but my fiber is all very accessible. You saw it over there in the stack of plastic bins at the beginning of this episode. So if I wanted to take on another big spinning project, it would be very, very easy to do. And yeah, but I don't think I will. I'm resisting actually just packing my spinning wheel. I kind of want to just pack it, but if I'm going to be here 3 more weeks, which is what it looks like, that's a long time to go without spinning anything. I do think those rusty colors will be, good for the next academic vest that I'm planning, if I can spin them thin enough to use. Well, that's a sport weight pattern, so should be fine, even if I end up spinning them a little bit on the chunky side. But yeah, I'll be back with you when I'm in the new place, like assuming that it's this 3-week turn time that I think it's going to be. And I will give you a little bit, a taste of what the place looks like. I'm planning to do before and after videos, like before I move in, to point to some of the work that I'm going to have done, and to give you an idea of like how roomy it is and stuff, what the layout is. And then, yeah, hopefully the next time I film an episode, my new place will be pretty laid out and situated, and I'll be getting settled in. It'll probably be about a month from now, would be my guess, like about, towards the end of May before I film again. And I should have plenty of finished objects to share. So I hope you enjoyed this little mini episode and update in what's happening in my life and in my knitting. And yeah, thank you so much for being here and spending a little time with me today. And I hope you're doing well as well, and your life is as stress-free as it can be, and that you're getting enjoyment from your crafting and your making. And I will see you again real soon. Bye.